us a few times. Very good at drawing animals. If you saw his paintings, sketches, photography, you would be blown away. I actually have some on that desk behind me.
Oh, wow.
He got into the University of Vermont on 85% scholarship, and that's supposed to be one of the nicest conservation programs in the US.
Yeah.
And then COVID-19 happened, so he was so disappointed because it's rare to find that student in India.
Yeah.
Very true.
I like conservation and I want to study conservation because most students are so scared about what will I do after this, right? What job is waiting for me, or what am I going to do? How am I going to pay for everything in life? But I always find if you follow your heart and your passion, something wonderful is there in store for you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So having said that, on that high note, I suppose it's 7 p.m. So officially a good evening to everybody on my panel and everybody in my audience. Devesh, I'm ready to start. If we can begin recording. And
yes, it's recording and it's live on YouTube.
Fantastic. So welcome everybody. I believe that you have had a very interesting set of 3 days. I have received, and our team has received a phenomenal number of compliments from parents and students about how interesting it was and how they awoke to so many opportunities for profile building, not just for college, but as an individual. It can be a very enriching experience for you to genuinely pursue these opportunities, and build on top of what you're learning in the classroom and how that can be expanded further. So I hope that many of these webinars finally convert into action for students from across the country and around the world. We have been really blown away by the amount of participation that we have seen from the myriad number of schools that we've reached out to for this purpose. So I can see some messages pouring in already. Okay, all right. So one request is if everybody can just wait for their question and answers right till the end. We will get to all your questions. If you can just hold your horses till the end. So thank you everybody for participating. I am aware it's a Sunday evening and I don't want to take too much of your time in this closing. One big learning for me is that, and one big, very loud message from India is do this again. And I believe the team is equally energized in responding to that. And I believe that in a few weeks, we will do something like this again. We will try to bring whoever we brought up to this platform. I believe we have even more people who are waiting to present, other organizations that we reached out to who kind of responded late to us or were waiting to see how the first time went. And I believe even more interesting opportunities will come up next time. So fingers crossed, wait a few more weeks and we are going to do this again. Having said that, I want to welcome everybody on my panel today. I have prepared a brief presentation. I hope you can see my screen. The presentation is about myth busting profile development or profile building or profile, whatever you want to call it. And we have with us absolute experts. And you are lucky to have not one, but two, but three, but four counselors. So we have the power of four here today. Can you imagine that you barely get one counselor in a room for enough time and now you have four? So I would love to welcome Prasija Nambiar from Stonehill International School in Bangalore. Hello, Prasija.
Hello everyone.
Good to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Neeraj.
Welcome to Ritu Tandon from Singapore International School in Mumbai.
Hi everyone.
Nice to have you. And Vandana Murjani from the Emerald Heights International School in
Namaste. Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you all the attendees.
Very much welcome. Now, all of us, as you might have been listening earlier, love our jobs. We absolutely are energized by what we do. And yet there is a part of us which on Friday morning goes TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Maybe I'll get some me time. Maybe I'll get to be a little bit alone or spend time with my family, etc. And I thought of all of us as I prepared this closing presentation. And let's imagine a typical Friday morning for us, and students are coming into our office, and I'm going to invite 7 hypothetical students to meet us today. So the first student comes in the morning. It's 9 a.m. and Kunal has walked into our room, and Kunal has come in with this high flyer of a kid with a 4-page resume. He's ready to boast. Everything from the time he gained consciousness till the time of 17 and making college applications was put on that 4 piece of paper. He won a swimming competition in the 3rd standard. It was in there in bold. He won a dance competition in his building in 8th standard. It was in there. Everything that you can imagine that was at school, in the classroom, outside the classroom, that was done outside of school, that was done in evenings, weekends, summer vacation, winter vacation, Diwali vacation, was slapped onto those 4 pages. And poor old Vandana Morjani has to look at it and spend 15 minutes reading through it. And at the end, she exhales and says, "Oh my God, I have some advice for you, Kunal." Vandana, what would you tell Kunal?
I would first appreciate him for taking part in so many things. It's good to, explore all the things. But then at the same time, we also have to consider one fact that the admission officers or the recruiters are looking at thousands of applications together, thousands of resumes together. So they don't have so much of time to, go through each and every page. So it should be narrowed down, first of all. It's not the number of pages that are going to count. It's the quality that's going to count. It should show the breadth, which your resume is already showing. But where is the depth? So it's the T that has to be counted. The recruiters out there, they're very smart enough. They know that if a student is passionate about something, then the student would have definitely taken part in that particular area more. So your resume is looking good, but then from the professional headshot, it needs more improvement. So rather work on the depth also now. So this is what my advice to the student would be, that just don't go on increasing the pages, go on increasing value to it. It should show what you value. It should show what are your ethics. It should also show some enrichment. So that particular substance is lacking over here.
Fantastic, Vandana. Thank you so much. Procedure. What if Kunal walked into your room?
I second Vandana here completely. As she said, one needs to see value, one needs to see depth. And how does one do it? Now look at a scenario where most of the applications of the students I understand attending this webinar are looking at US and are looking at other universities which are high selective. Most of these applications are going to limit the number of activities or the number of the things that one has participated in. They're probably going to be limiting, and they say, okay, we want to see these maybe 10 activities in the order of importance. So my advice is you don't need to tell them everything that you've done, but maybe show things that are more important, which are kind of relevant. And most importantly, I think consider the activities that we have participated for a longer time. That shows persistence, that shows depth, that shows commitment, and it also shows consistency and dedication. I think these are skills that they're looking for when they're reading the application, when they're reading the whole profile. So we need, if one is applying for a particular major and you've done an activity that is, we've done it for very, very little time and it's completely opposite to what you're applying to, I think we can give that activity a miss. So this can be a good strategy to how to narrow down your resume and only put the most important, the most highlighted, the most activities that speak about you, and something that gives the admission officer a glimpse into what kind of a person you are. Consistency, dedication, depth. I think these are things that they're looking at. Commitment, they're looking at those kind of things. And also another thing that I have seen is, a lot of students, as you said, this child Kunal has put in things from what he has done from his primary school and everything that he's ever participated. I think the universities are also looking at what you've done in the recent years, in the high school years of your, the junior and the senior year, the 11th and 12th grade, or the 10th or 9th. That's the maximum 4-year high school journey that they're really looking at. So maybe add more activities and more, participation and more skill set and more enrichment through the 4 years of high school. And maybe if there's something that you've done since childhood, like dancing or music, fair enough, we can, add that, but not everything that you've done from kindergarten. Yeah.
That's great advice, Prasija. Ritu, it's your turn. What would you tell Kunal?
Well, first thing, both the counselors have covered most of the points, which is good. I think I'd be fine with Kunal coming right in with the 4-page CV because it gives us something to work with. He's done the effort, like Vandana said. Hats off to him. Let's get started. Let's fix up an appointment for maybe 30 to 40 minutes, and then I'd actually go through the resume and perhaps organize it in such a manner that activities are chunked, depending on what area it is. And then, like Prasija said, I would want to put it chronologically. So the most recent ones on top, and perhaps, and then, kind of start to pare it down to what's most significant and what we really need to keep from the point of view of his applications. Yeah, let me keep it short.
Great.
It's a very first scenario.
Yes. So Kunal is very much helped by all of this feedback. And if he came to me, what I would say is that, it's great that you've done all of this.
Yeah.
We've got the raw material here.
Exactly.
You're still working on the premise that more is better.
Yeah.
More is not necessarily better. So imagine looking at your resume from the eyes of an admission officer when they have to read an entire application in 20 or 30 minutes. And imagine they're reading your essays, recommendation letters, transcripts, they're reading your form, etc., etc. And then there is this 4-page resume. You're making them do extra work. You're making them fish out what is the important point and what is the not so important point. So, I mean, if I was sitting with Kunal on a Friday morning, what I would say is, this is great, bring this here. And I would say, start numbering things. What are your top 10 things? What are your top 15 things? And we would rearrange that resume chronologically, etc., other importance wise. And because most colleges are only looking at your top 5, top 10, top 15, maximum top 20 for a UC, for example. Other than that, they are not really looking beyond, So hats off to Kunal. Great to have a kid like that early morning. And he walks out, he's happy. He's had a successful meeting. Student number 2 walks in, and this is, let's say Josefa has come into our room, and Josefa is number 2, and Josefa is going to college to study biology. But then when we look at his activities and profile, he's talking about swimming, he's talking about how he's done theater, he's talking about art, he's talking about how he traveled around the country for the last 2 summers with his parents. He's talking about how he has done some community service in nature, with conservation, for example, etc., etc. And all of us are sitting there going, where is the biology and the biology related stuff? So, Prasija, what would you have to tell Josefa?
I think Josefa looks like a student who is sort of well-rounded, wants to be a part of the community, wants to be around people, wants to do things that he likes doing, which is great. We want to see those students also, because in college the classes are only going to be for a few hours, and what they do outside class will really matter. So this gives me a lot of glimpse into what kind of extracurriculars they're doing. However, what I see missing here is if he's applying for a major in biology, we don't see where has the student demonstrated interest. The student says, oh, I want to do biology, but how do I come to know that you like biology? So I would suggest, considering the student is not in the grade 12, considering the student is grade 10 or grade 11, I would start looking, suggesting that maybe start with writing research papers. start looking for mentorship programs, start taking up extra courses outside of your curriculum to understand the depth of the subject that a university course is about to offer, understand and get a glimpse of the rigor that he's going to go through, and then take a call if he really wants to get into biology or not, to find out if that's the calling. How do, as an admission officer, I really want to see how have the student demonstrated interest, how has the student demonstrated commitment to the area of interest, what has the student learned out of it. Now here there is something that most of the students will talk about is, oh, I need to do international level recognition and those kind of work. No, regardless of the magnitude, regardless of the scale, I think it's the effort and the learning outcome that matters. So even if it's a small course, even if it's a small online course, something to start with, if the admission officer sees it, yes, the student is aligned to taking this major and has prepared adequately to take on the college rigor, I think that's a good start for the application.
Ritu, anything similar, anything different?
No, along with what Prasija has to say, what I would say is it's fine. What did you say was the name of the student?
Josefa.
Josefa is our explorative student. I think kind of a great fit for an American university.
Right.
Because what they will see is the child, like Prasija said, he's holistic and he wants to explore different things. Now, he did mention that he wants to pursue biology. And for that, I would say if the child has the subjects in its place, for example, I'm a counselor at an IB school, if he's got his biology or related another science in high levels or amongst his choices, I would suggest take on your extended essay in that subject, which is of interest to you. Perhaps make sure that your IA is really good as well. If you've got those things covered, you're good. You're good to go. Because I would like to see more and more students with a variety of interests, because very few of them, only do that. Whatever they're thinking in high school, they usually don't end up doing that in life. So why not explore more and then going for deciding on your major or committing to it?
Great. Vandana, what would you tell Josefa?
Yeah, already Ritu and Prasija have covered a lot of points. So something that I would like to add on is that first, we are a CBSE school, so there may be many CBSE schools. So I may suggest the student looking for AP Biology again, because that would again give the student the deep knowledge, the college level knowledge. This will help the student discover whether he has taken the right decision or he needs to change the decision. This also will help him. Another thing that I would suggest him is that I will just look at what is the area in biology the child, Josefa, is interested in. See, biology is also deep, botany, zoology, physiology. So what is that area? And then maybe I can suggest him some more activities or research related to that particular area so that he could take up that research or internship or that program, and, he would also be learning out of it. Secondly, he'll be able to give, see, universities believe that show and don't tell me. This is the mantra they say. So only showing that I am passionate about biology and I want to do biology wouldn't work. You just show by your engagements, rich engagements in your area, so that the recruiters know that this is the realm you are interested in. This is the realm you will contribute here, and this is the realm you will further excel at. So this is your long-term goal. So these are certain things we would suggest the students taking on.
Fantastic. And if Josefa walked into my office, having done all of those things and told me that I want to study biology, I would say that's great. That's who you really are. You have explored many different things and you have now come to the conclusion that you want to study biology. Now think carefully about how you came to that decision. What was it about the art? What was it about the community service, etc.? And think about, as a biologist, what are you looking to do? And perhaps try and marry all of those things together as you present them into your college application. So to say, align the vectors in one direction, right? And I would say don't forcefully do it. Don't try to make it look like some pitch perfect application where every single piece of the puzzle is pointing towards biology. That is a classic rat trap that when admissions see that, they will say, okay, this looks really made up. But when you talk about things, talk about how they shaped you and qualities, adjectives of a future biologist. For example, a future biologist is going to be doing experiments one way or another. And perhaps they need to be an extremely observant person. And the fact that you did art maybe developed your observation ability to try to highlight that. When you did community service, you went out and you were exposed to so many different types of species, flora, fauna, example, etc. And maybe that helped develop your classification ability. So talk about that when you're giving a description, etc. So just casually try to align it together and present it in a certain direction without forcing it too much is what I would say. Now, that's with a caveat, because I would say that for the US and for liberal arts colleges around the world, for the UK and for Canada, I would say, be extremely careful and present more of the biology-related extracurricular opportunities that you have done. Yes, the panel would agree, I guess?
Absolutely.
Great. So now our second meeting is over. We go get our coffee, get ready for the barrage of students that are coming our way. And number 3 is Sahil. Sahil is a student who has come in after a lot of homework with his parents, and the parents have a lot of notes about things that their friends have told them and their cousins who are living abroad have told them. And they have said that this is what you need to do. This is what colleges in America, Canada, UK, Singapore, etc. are looking for. The kid is really kind of intimidated by all this and sitting quietly in a corner, and the parents are talking more than the student. How would you handle this situation? So, Vandana.
Thank you, Neeraj. That's very interesting. And these are very common with me also, I think, with almost every counselor, because our culture is still dominated by friends, relatives, and parents. So I would first listen to the stories of all together. Then I would request the parents, please move out. Let me speak to the kid. I will speak to this kid and I will find out, I will first build a rapport with him, and I'll try to convince him that whatever we are speaking, it's just between you and me. You need to express freely. You need to tell me, otherwise, how can I help you? If it is anything, a pressure on you, please speak up here. It won't go out at all. So I would like to listen to what the child wants. Why does he want that? I would like to really probe into his interests, into his passions, into his liking, irrespective, it is not seeing very conventional, because our society is really, more dominated by conventional things. Even if it is unconventional, I would pursue the child, that the child is on the right track and there is opportunity out there for everything. It's just that the way we put up, the way we bring up, and the way we take our process on. So I listen to the kid very nicely. I'll tell the child to write, I'll give him a set of questions so that he brainstorms what he's good at, what he's not good at, what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses, what are his barriers in pursuing all these things. Once he is ready with that, then I will tell the child to go out, let the parents come in. And then I would present some data to the parents that, see, this is what the child wants. And this is what these students have done great at. We need not be feared. It's the FOMO, fear of missing out. Don't be fearful, because we need to develop certain skill set which will really be helpful to the child in the long run. In the pressure, the child is not going to bloom. He's not going to be happy. You want the child to become an engineer. What if he builds bad bridges? What if he constructs all bad? Is it bad buildings? Is it not the harm to the society? So such cases will be presented to the parents so that the parents are also convinced that, yeah, somewhere we were ignoring the individuality, the personal liking of the child, and this is what the child needs to do. So sitting with the child, we will then personalize a chart of activities related to his area.
Awesome. Ritu, I'm sure you've faced many families like this.
All the time. And I love it, frankly. I actually like working with Indian parents because they are so involved. And many a times what we've seen is the child is still very much evolving when they reach us for counseling, which in our school it happens from grade 8 onwards. So what we do consciously is we actually keep in mind the goals of the family as well as what the child is saying at that stage of development for his own goals as well. So the way I see it is counseling is not a one session thing anyways. So it's a process. Like Vandana said, we would definitely work on suggesting to the child to know themselves and get the parents' view as well as how they know the child as well. Getting all of that together, keeping it vague till it's needed is also fine. So pretty much in the senior year, a lot of times kids come to us in grade 11, they're pretty confused. And that's okay. That's great actually. That means the kid is exploring real well. And I would say, go ahead, that's fine. But when they present to us the case, I love it when the parent or student brings it down in points. So like you said, it's Mr. Hearsay. So he's heard this, he's heard that. I'd love to go down the points, separate fact from fiction, and then work with facts. And perhaps, let them know as well, like you said, share data. So they are also convinced that when we're saying, hey, that's fiction, we've got evidence for that. So working with parents or students cannot be a 1 or a 2 session thing. It's a continued effort. Little by little, we'll pare down all those, the views and opinions and all that. And honestly, somewhere, all of that is important too, I feel. Everything they hear from a friend who may be studying at X university or a relative who lives right there will probably be their fallback if they fell sick. So I want to hear that every opinion of those. I'm open to that, actually. Yeah, go ahead.
That's great. I love your approach. Prasija, have you faced this?
Yes, and not so much actually. I think I'm very fortunate to have students who are very proactive and families who are, I'm blessed to have one of the best set of families and parents, because it has been a rare occasion where I've had these kind of conflicts in my office. But considering a hypothetical situation that I encounter something of this sort, we also I think my approach would be very similar to what Ms. Ritu has done. We keep in mind the goals of the family as a whole, because that's what the culture at in our school is. Having said that, yes, it's a continued effort. If the parent comes and we have a meeting and the parent is quite involved and is very enthusiastic about all the destinations that the students wants to go, and has in fact taken the effort of talking to relatives and finding out information from all the sources, however credible or not credible, but they have those things with them for them to form an opinion about it. The second thing would be, I would listen to everything and schedule another meeting with the student just to have a deeper insight into what the student wants and what he or she loves to do in school, loves to do in free pastime. And then it probably is going to be a relay of information of what between the child and the parent. And I think that is also a part of our jobs of conflict management to a slight extent. And I think the parent, see, we all say we know the child, but the parent knows the child the best. So there is I'm not going to contest that. But yes, even I would love to see the opinions that they are bringing, whether they are some of them are absolutely not relevant to this child, not relevant to the major. Sometimes they just they might be picking up facts from 50 years or maybe 10 years back of what was happening, and so I have to stop them, and I say no, I think let's meet. So what I have done in certain cases, that is, we've got the parent to become a partner. I have like how we assign questionnaires to students, we assign questionnaires to parents. We get them on a phone call or on a Zoom meeting, and through informal chats, I start making notes about what they are looking at and what their filters are, and those filters are actually incorporated into their college application filters in the senior year. So then, everybody is happy. It's a win-win situation. And it's a lot of, I think it's a lot of negotiation. It's a lot of strategic thinking, as much as we are all heart and soul for the student to go and follow their passion. But there are certain times, there are circumstances where we have to understand where the family is coming from. So it's not always a parent bending down to this what the student wants, but sometimes it's the other way around also. But we try to create an open environment, an enthusiastic environment where there is freedom of speech, where there is that we have difference of opinion, and we have a healthy discussion about how to go further with it. Yeah.
Very useful advice from across the panel. I would say that, you know, the students we are working with are extremely lucky that they have access to a counselor. There are hundreds of schools around the country where there is no counselor, or there is a head of academics, a vice principal, or principal who is now filling into those shoes. And I can tell you that many times, as me and the team has traveled across the country, we have seen this situation where students came and said, and parents came and said, oh, we heard you have to do all of this stuff, you know. So my advice to them always have been, there are thousands of students. They are going to do 10,000 and millions of things. You cannot do everything. Whatever you hear, just close your eyes and look in your heart. Does this truly align with me or not? And if you think right away, without blinking an eye, yes, very good, that's something you should pursue. And if you felt hesitation or extremely uncomfortable, then what you need to do is write things down and say, okay, why am I struggling to say yes to this? And look at it the next day after you have slept at it, over it. And, you know, maybe you don't need to do that, right? Even though another successful student might have done that last year or 5 years ago, because for every kid that did that, there's a kid that did something else who also got it, right? So let's move along. Then Sahil has left the room, and the next kid has come in. This is Sanath. Sanath has come in, and Sanath is Mr. Copy Paste. He is Sahil's cousin, because what Sanath did is last year there was a kid from our school who got into Stanford. And somehow Sanath got a copy of that other student's application, and he sort of went down that list and said, okay, I need to do exactly the same thing, right? So this kid comes into Prasija's room. Prasija, what are you doing with Sanath?
So if Sanath walks into my office, yes, you know, first for starters, on a positive note, yes, I'm happy that he's looking at a high selective school like Stanford. I at this point, I'd like to believe it is out of his own interest, not because someone else has got into it. So if he shows me this profile, I'm probably going to be asking this question, that what is different? I'm going to ask, you know, how is it to you? This doesn't seem like you. You know, I'm probably going to be asking those questions to him. That if someone else has done the same thing and has got into the university has already seen this. They don't want to see this. They want to see you as an individual, not a copy paste of someone else's activity record. And if you can do it, remember, I think there are many others also who will be following suit. So I feel, you know, it's going to be another 50 or 60 students who are going to be presenting the same list of activities. It doesn't land you anywhere. You're no more a unique application. You're no more a standout application. You're no more a standout profile that the university admission officers will go back and look into. Hey, that kid, you know. So we are not creating that memory after the admission officers read your file. So I think the bottom line would be to say, be authentic and be yourself, and, you know, do things that you genuinely like, not because somebody else did it and has seen success. Fair enough to get motivation from a student who did ABC kind of an activity list, to get inspiration is fair enough, but not to copy paste and do the same kind of activities over and over again. I think it does not land one into a unique, you know, applicant pool, or give you a unique status while giving an application, while reading the application. So yeah, I think we might start to work on, you know, really finding what your strengths are, to really find what you do in pastime, what you really enjoy doing. And if you'd like to go work, you know, with the neighborhood, and you love to do gardening, fair enough, mention all of those things. You know, I think those are the kind of advices that I'll be working on with the student. Again, be authentic and be yourself. It's not it's not a good idea to kind of follow or even copy paste somebody's activities what is already seen as a success. Yeah.
Okay, Vandana, what about you?
Very true, but Prasija has covered it very well. So I would ask Sanat, do you copy the food that your friend eats? Do you copy the dress that he wears? No. Why? Because maybe your choice is different. We all are different. We all have different faces. We all have different figures. We all have different colors. We all have different interests. So then why this same? Why do you want to copy him? Bring in that your perspective over here. Bring in that your touch over here. What are you bringing to the campus? The college is not looking same kind of people like what Prasija said, that the college would already know. The college would also want a diverse class. A class should have a beautiful pianist, a dancer, a researcher, or so on. So whatever you are good at, why don't you continue doing that? Excel in that, probe into that, bring a depth into that, and bring it that on your profile instead of copying someone. If you're copying someone, you will struggle somewhere because that's not your strength, that is his strength. So bring in your strength, your taste, your dedication, your compassion, bring it that, and then you will be in. So it has to be authenticated, you know.
Yes, so ditto. Ritu, any different? Same message.
Actually, kind of different. I would first like to establish the authenticity of the resume itself. And I believe no one would be foolish enough to copy paste everything. So I would assume there are some sections which might be the child and some of it is coming from somewhere else. So I think a good long interview or perhaps a set of questionnaires, what I would give them. So we have a brag sheet. I use a brag sheet, which is more descriptive on the activities that matter to the child. If a child can establish authenticity, I want to work with it. If a child is not even considering it important or is not able to elaborate on it, I would say then this isn't something which will hold up in a Stanford interview either. So remove things which are excesses, which don't sound authentic. And I would put the fear of God onto him for plagiarism. I would explain on that. I would have the child read up on that. So I would share something. I usually don't do research for the kids until and unless it's absolutely needed. I would suggest to them to do some research in certain areas as well, because they need to understand if you're going overseas to study, you're representing India, and I don't take that lightly at all. So I want students to go on their merit with full integrity and, you know, deserving where they want to go. As counselors, you and I, we all know we can place students. We can place students to whichever country they choose. Just work hard, be yourself, and we can help you with the rest of it.
Fantastic. I love the ambassadorship point, right? That's very important.
They are.
You know, yeah, they are ambassadors of their families, the community, the country,
Absolutely.
and plagiarism is not okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, if someone came in my room and this is what he had done, I would be making eyes at him and reminding him that you managed to do it. Guess what? 5 of your other friends also would have managed to do it. And even though you don't know it right now, there are other people who are coming into this room with exactly the same profile from the same school. And guess what the admission officer would do when they're looking at all those applications from our school together, right? So that's a very big problem, right? And the second thing is I would share my experience, and having spoken to so many admission officers over the year, I can tell you, they remember everything in your application. They read hundreds and thousands of applications, but then they remember. It's one of these amazing qualities of being an admission officer that when they come to your school, they remember the name of the kid from last year. They remember the 20 things that were there in their application, and they can see that, hey, I came to Singapore International last year. There was this girl we accepted into our college. And suddenly there are 5 clones of her that have shown up in the junior year. So let's be very mindful of that. So those are the 2 things I would tell Sanat, and then obviously tell him to fall in line and be authentic. So great. Now we go away for our lunch break. We come back praying to God that he sends us something better. Instead, he sends us Chirayu. And Chirayu apparently has figured out that there is a secret formula to admission. And he comes and informs us that, you know, he has to do 1 internship, he has to do 1 community service project, he has to build 1 skill, and he has to do one thing at school or outside of school for leadership, and then he is going to get it. So again, how do we respond to that? Vandana, how would you respond to that?
I would sit with the child. What's the name of this child, Neeraj?
The child is Chirayu.
Chirayu. So I'll ask him to sit calmly and think about why he has taken this internship. Just to show on the resume? Just to show it to the officers? Or does he really want to learn that thing? I will figure out if he is genuinely interested in it, then it's really good, because ultimately, Chirayu, you have to face the interview also. And very smartly, the people will find out whether you've genuinely taken it, what you learned out of it, what did you observe in it. So if you're just doing it to show on the resume or to please the admission officer, this is not working. I would also see what community service the child, Chirayu, has taken. Is it, because community is also vast. It's not only donation, or it's not only teaching the poor kids, it's also working on several other factors like environment, or maybe during these days, COVID-19, there are so many who are the sufferers. So why this community service has been taken? If it is really a worth thing, please excel in it, take one more. If not, just don't think that if you will take community, you are pleasing me. Nobody is pleased by just taking fake things. Fake things are easily made out. So I will share my experiences about my conversations and also the failure stories. While we keep talking about success stories, at the same time, I firmly believe that I have to talk about some failure stories also. So I do have experiences about students who did this thing just to show on the application, or just to fill the profile, the blocks of the profile, or the 10 columns of the Common App, the traditional approach. Then I'll share those failure cases with him, and I'll make him understand that this was the background. If you are not genuinely interested, if you are not keen learning into it, then this is not working. Just work on, it's okay having 4 substantial activities of your interest in depth, where a lot of learning is there, where a lot of grooming is there, and where a lot of contribution is there. Ultimately, they have to contribute to the world, you know. It's not only about getting into the college or getting into the job world. It's ultimately, we are working to build a stronger nation. So what will you build with this? Only with these 4 or 5 columns, you're not building on anything, which is easily made out. It's better you take 4 or 5 activities. We will work together, Chirayu, with you. Let us work together and see what we can do so that we have strong activities in real sense, in true sense. They should be meaningful. They should be impactful. They should not just be to show or to fake or to please or to just to get admission. Maybe you may get admission also. Sometimes it may happen by default. But then after going to the campus, aren't you struggling with those things? You will be struggling, you will not be thriving. You might survive, but you will not thrive. So these are certain ways where I would insist more on learning part, because if you are learning in a true manner, in a meaningful manner, ultimately your profile is getting fit. But if you're working for the profile thing, you are not growing in true sense. So that would be my advice, that trust on learning factor, adding on factor, instead of the profile thing.
Okay. Ritu, Chirayu comes to you with the standard tick list. We've all seen the standard tick list.
Yeah.
What would you tell him?
So actually with this kid, we'd have to go back to understanding what the child's goals are. Once we've established what are the goals that the person wants to achieve, as well as which countries are they focusing on, and then work out a plan as to what all is relevant to those, you know, what activities and internships or courses is actually needed. I believe even if he comes in with a checklist, I would actually like to retain some of what he has in mind. And then perhaps in order to kind of show a sharpened interest, if the child knows what he exactly wants to do, perhaps work more in those areas and try to remove the areas that don't seem to be that significant. Because all curriculums these days and the students, there's so much they can do. And one thing that I want to say to students who are listening in here is your transcripts is the first thing that a university will look at. So all the other things will be looked at after that. First thing that they'll look at is what subjects have you taken and how are you performing in those. And from there, we'll take it. I actually like to retain whatever the student comes up with and then work on that, build on that, so that they don't have that feeling that when I came in, she debunked it all. And I hope my students also kind of agree with me on that. Yeah,
that's great. Thank you. Prasija, any quick comments?
Yeah, I think since the student has come with a standard checklist, I believe the student has probably looked at what the previous years successful profiles have, or what are the mostly high selective universities and their webinars talk about, and so I believe that the student has made this checklist looking at those and have tried to participate. Yes, agreed. I would like to understand what was the role in that particular activity, how authentic it was, why did the student choose to do that particular activity and not something else, how long did the student participate, what was the role, how did you contribute, what was the impact, is the student able to reflect on it, is the student able to talk about challenges that the student faced while doing those activities, is the student able to talk about it passionately, whatever activities is done. I think it's a fair start to work on the application. Again, yes, it's very important to outline the goals. Is it relevant to the application? Is it does it match to the mission and vision of the college that the student is going to study? Because that again determines, as Vandana rightly put, it's important to thrive on campus, not survive on campus. So I feel putting out significant accomplishments, putting out even if it falls under the bracket of checklist, I think we still have so much more that we can work on, considering under a particular head, say community service, there's so much that one can do under that. So why did the student choose to do that particular activities? I would like to have that conversation and maybe dive deeper into it. Also, another thing that I always tell the students to also prioritize. Ask yourself what activities are important. Were you deeply involved? Does the activity relate to what you want to study in college? I think that, because as Ms. Ritu said, the transcripts are the first thing that they look into it. After you have crossed that first level, universities are really want to, seeking, and they're going all out to reading your profile to see who is behind those numbers, what is the personality that is standing out, and does that personality match with the fit? Is the student going to be successful on our campus? I think these are things that they're looking at when they're reading the activity. So if you're able to showcase your personality through activities, even if it's a checklist, I think I'd go with it.
Superb. So if I met the student, I would say that a very simple message: depth, not breadth. So what I mean by that is that you have probably done a lot of research online and talking to people. What are colleges looking for? They're looking for internships, etc., etc. And you've done one of each, but that is looking like breadth. It's not looking like depth. Now, typically, people who have a habit of leadership won't just do it once. They will have a series of leadership opportunities that they would have pursued. People who are into community service won't just do one, they would do a series, and you would find them engaging with people wherever they go. So try to have some depth rather than do one of each kind. Go deeper, show multiple. Genuinely build yourself in that direction. Focus on what you're enjoying. If you're everything to everybody, you're nothing to nobody. So, and that's the message I would leave them with, that it looks like you have done research online, and you're right that colleges are looking for these sorts of things, but then you need to reflect more deeply on yourself and say, which of these is more me? Am I more interested in those leadership oriented things, or community service oriented things, or industry internship type of things, or skills, or something else, rather than serving one of each on your application? The little asterisk to that is, again, make that decision in the context of the country to which you're applying. There are certain countries where they are looking for certain specific things. For example, the UK, they're always looking for experience and work exposure more than anything else, right? Okay, so moving along speedily, the next student shows up, and this is a student who is in a big hurry, and it's this time of the year, it's August, September. This is Vivan. Vivan came in with his resume, and we go through it, and everything that he has done is like the summer before 12th standard and 12th standard. So, Vandana, what are you telling Vivan?
Please repeat, Neeraj. Okay. I missed it out.
Sorry. So Vivan comes into your room, Vandana, and he presents his resume to you. And he's got 10 things there because of the, let's say he's filling the Common App and there are 10 activities. And everything that he has presented is either the summer before 12th standard or during 12th standard. Because, he's a student who was not really thinking of going abroad or really not attuned to building his profile from an earlier age. So what are the kind words that we will tell Vivan?
If Vivan comes to me, I would listen to him that why this happened, why he was not so. He would share with me whatever his problems would be. So I would advise him to write down all of these things, all of the reasons why he could not participate, why he was late in taking this decision. And maybe he could write a small, nice writer and add in the additional information first of all. This would be my advice. Secondly, now, whatever time we are left with, I would also see that how is his academic structure? Because there are all sorts of universities out there. It's not necessary that every university would look for a high profile student. So I would look how is his academic profile, whether Vivan has taken SATs, how is the SAT score, what majors is he looking for, and accordingly, I would see if there is some scope of taking one good activity without compromising with the academics and the SATs and other things. And secondly, then I would work more on his essays, which should be strong enough. I would suggest Vivan to work more on SAT so that the score is really good and appealing. And simultaneously, we would look out for some countries where profile is not very important, but academic is important. Maybe Canada is something to look upon, UK is something to look upon. There may be some tier 2, tier 3 universities in the US also, which are very good, very welcoming. They may not be ranked, but they have ranked programs, they have ranked professors, and where the student will thrive. So I would not ask Vivan to deter, or I would not tell him to give up on his dreams, but I would work with Vivan in a little different path than the others. So this would be my strategy working with Vivan. I would work with Vivan, taking one thing in consideration, that the child should not be deterred or stressed or should not feel inferior, because here, the moment he feels inferior, he would really not work well with what is in hand. So this would be my approach to working with Vivan.
Fantastic. Great idea about the additional comment. Prasija.
I think this is a classic case of fueling the application, where we don't have much, and when we are ready to apply, we start looking for activities and start signing up. So what that does is more damage than good. Because then the admission officers are very clearly able to see that over the course of all 4 years the student has not done anything, has only started doing in the last few months, which does not show depth, does not show commitment, or does not show perseverance. The learning outcomes are going to be skewed. So it does not really tell anything about the applicant. So I would suggest in this case to maybe, if the student is really keen on taking a particular activity and is considering and is doing it, I think I would focus on asking the student to reflect on that, including that in the essay. And again, Vandana's great point about additional information, to just give them some context as to why the activities are so late and done, so that we are covering up to a sort, where we try to say that, okay, this is not fueling, but there was a genuine concern and the student has started looking at. Second would be to ask the student to continue doing those activities, whatever is possible, not to fuel the application, but for genuine interest. If the student likes, out of those 5 activities, 3 are something that he genuinely loves doing it, I would say continue doing it in your spare time, ensuring that the academics are not hampered in any way, because that's what they want to see. And then second option would be to look at countries where they give preference to academics and they give preference to scores and SATs rather than extracurriculars. I think that's the kind of university that the student is probably going to, have more fun, is going to thrive, and the selection chances are quite higher. Yeah.
Super. Ritu, quick comments. I'm sorry, I have to ask you to make some quick comments because we are at 7:54 now.
Sure. So I kind of agree with whatever the counselors have said. I'm not going to repeat anything there. But I do feel that with this child, it would be more an activity of peeling that onion, because there's a lot that the kid has done, but sometimes they're not able to express it in that typical thing that they have in their mind. There have been a student that I know of who in one of their activities had written, I am an excellent sandwich maker and I am the sandwich maker of my family. And that's what that child was remembered for at university. The faculty said, you better make a good sandwich now. And she was hands-on with that. She actually had ton of. So, another thing that I want to reiterate, activities and the volume of activities is mostly looked at by the American universities. And they're also fine with 3, 4, 5 activities. No one's saying you got to fill that form to the T. Don't even bother. Write what's authentic. And to this student, there's no going back and fixing things. It's only the way forward. So yeah, whatever you've done, great. Let's move ahead. And let's move ahead to this extent that activities can be planned all the way till they join college and then thereafter as well. Look up the clubs. So build your application around that. Any country is fine to me, frankly, with that. So that's it. Closing remarks.
Brilliant, brilliant. I loved all the comments and they were so, in fact, insightful and so helpful, for the students. Before we all go home, the last student has come in and, this is Krish, and Krish has come in with a resume, and there are some brilliant things on Krish's resume, but everything that Krish has done is outside the school. It's in the summer vacations, it's in the evenings and weekends, and almost nothing that they have achieved and put in the activity section is from school. So if I can just have very quick comments from all three of you. Maybe Ritu, you can start, then Prasija, then Vandana.
Again, authenticity would need to be established here, as well as I would suggest to the student, whatever stage they are coming at, that please participate in school activities as well, to some extent at least. I don't want them to just go out for everything possible, but participating in that is important. Then perhaps if non-school activities have happened, it's about opportunities at different schools as well. Then a letter from wherever he did it from, and perhaps a call, is what I would make before I put it down on my recommendation for sure. And to establish that whatever the child is saying, are they there? They could be playing a sport which they're playing at national level, definitely not happening in school. I would go and check those as well. And nothing's wrong with that, except some participation in school is also required. And actually, we've had students like this who are at national level in squash or badminton, and squash is not played in my school, and that's perfectly fine. So as long as it's authentic, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Prasija?
I think what I'm looking at is also these kind of students that, why is it they did not participate in school? Because I feel school as a community is very important in shaping their personality for the 4 years of high school or 2 years, wherever they are. So I think contributing to the school community is also something that, I would look as a counselor, because that gives me a sense that if the student goes to any university, they are going to contribute to the community there as well. So even if it's a small event, if they've been participating, it's not about leading and standing on the stage and everything, but it's about just contributing and being a part of the activities that are happening in the school. Also gives them a sense of belongingness. So I, yes, out of school activities, if they're glorious, if they're really, a showcase of their talent and passion, fair enough. By all means, we'd be happy to put that on our recommendation letter. But I would be more happy to see a student being a very, very active, involved, and an active and involved student in the school community.
Vandana, last comments.
Yeah, so I'll give a very quick comment here because I also agree with both of them, Ritu and Prasija, that whatever they've done outside, ultimately they have done it. But I would definitely reach out to the people they have worked with, whether the child is authenticated or not. Secondly, they should have the letters or the certificates from the people they have worked with. So I will just share two quick stories here. I have one student who is very much community driven, and he and his friend, they came up with a lot of food joints where people collaborated a lot of waste food from the homes. And there is one Apna Sweets here where that's a chain of sweets here, sweet shops, and they would they had installed refrigerators there where the families would go and put the unused food or unconsumed food there. So now this was the NGO. This is really built by our own students, but it was happening outside and we were unaware. During the counseling session, when I got to know about it, then I thought it's a novel idea. Students are doing something good for the community. Why don't you bring this concept in the school also and collaborate with the school and involve more of the students so that it's also kind of becoming the school activity. So now it's almost 4 years. Little Love NGO has taken heights in these 4 years, and it's taken a verve in the school as well. Second student is very much into astronomy. Very much. Right from 9th, the child was like astronomy. He didn't find any such activity in the school for the first 2 years. So he kept doing it outside. But then the child was very closely connected with me and he was constantly informing me. So definitely it has to come on the letter of recommendation. But now the child is suggested. I suggested to the student, why don't you come up with this? You are saying that this is the area which the school doesn't have. Come up with the club. Come up, give it to more of the students like you who may not be able to find outside. Give them the platform within the school. So now these two things have picked up great things which started from outside and now a part of school as well. So these are some ways where we can also include the outside activities into the school, considering the permission from the management and the authorities, which they always do if we are doing something for the school and the students.
Brilliant ideas. I hope other educators and institutions are as forthcoming as yours. Now, I know that it is 8 p.m. and I am the person standing between you and your dinner. So thank you to my panel for such brilliant insights. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to all of you and the different perspectives you presented. I am supremely confident that it was helpful for our audience. Now, I'm only going to take 5 questions maximum here. There have been many questions that have been posted. I just wanted one quick one, if we could discuss that, which is...
There's one for which I've said I would like to answer it live.
Okay.
There's a student who said that they want to do a lot of activities. However, parents are not agreeing to any. So the child feels kind of stuck. I would suggest to that student at least that perhaps bring the parents to have a conversation with a counselor who can explain to them as well, that perhaps it's necessary, or having any one meeting with any counselor, any qualified counselor would help in that child's situation because they feel like they're stuck there. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Brilliant. That's the one actually I was going to bring to the foreground.
Okay.
Another one has come in, which is, what if my community service doesn't have official certificates? Where do I mention it on my application? Anybody want to take that?
It's totally fine if you don't have certificates. See, service comes from within. If I have to do some service, I won't do it for the sake of certificate, first of all. If you are doing service from heart, from within, nobody will ask you for the certificate to prove it. So if you have done the service genuinely, show it in one of your activity columns, share it with us. We can put it on the LOR, or somewhere it could also be put up through your essays or so. Nobody will question you if you are honest and you are genuinely serving.
Great. Ritu, Prasija, any response to that?
Yeah, most of the community services in India are done, on a very informal level, where students go and reach out and seek opportunities. So it's not likely that they will be given a certificate until unless they're associated with a organizing or organization or something of that sort. So it's absolutely fine if you don't have a certificate. And but if it's something that you've been doing for many years, and if it's a very one of the most important activities that you've done in your profile, maybe I would say invite that particular person or whoever was mentoring you to be your other recommender on the Common App section, and they can fill in the recommendation for you. So that also makes it authentic. As Ms. Vandana pointed out, talk about it in your essay. So I think nobody's going to question your intentions about putting that up, as far as you are able to talk about it and you're able to reflect on it. I think that's fine. You don't have a certificate, that's absolutely fine. I mean, also to add on, if you're an IB student, that will get documented in your CAS. So I think there is a CAS coordinator who will also, do a double check there. So I don't think it is going wrong anywhere. Yeah.
So I've seen it many a times in India when people are doing religious community service. That is often not, outcome is not getting certificates out of it, and that's fine. As long as the student writes it, and if they write it on their application, they're actually signing off at the end of it, saying everything that I have put up is true. So you're the one who's actually responsible for it to be true. As long as it's true and you're true to yourself, you're good on that. However, if you want to bring it forth, so if you want to bring it to such a state where it is noticed, I would also suggest that weave it into your personal statement or your essays. Somewhere we come to know what is genuine and what is not, irrespective of the fact whether the certificate was generated out of it or not. So people with experience will know. No worries on that.
Absolutely, I agree with that. It's admission officers have been doing this for years. They read thousands of applications every year. When something doesn't smell right, they know. Many a times I see students and their profiles are so bloated up. And then when I look at their grades and everything else that they have done is so shoddy, I'm thinking, why are you doing this? Why are you beefing up one section of your application, which presents you as superhuman, but then, your academics and other pieces of your application don't look so strong. So, that incoherence admission officers can see as well. So I would say, present your best foot forward. Don't go all the way out, right, to paint yourself as somebody extraordinary. Put your best foot forward. Present it in the best possible manner, in the best of light, in the best of words, with clarity. Now, I know it's 8:06, and although there are questions pouring in, I apologize to everybody. We will have to stop. We have to respect everybody's time. So I just want to thank our audience for being with us today. Thank you so much for participating. I hope this was very useful for you. Secondly, I want to thank the panel for being with us on Sunday evening. Thank you for taking time out. It was wonderful to work with you and collaborate with you and answer all of these, or at least see these 7 hypothetical students together. And lastly, I want to say a very big thank you to Team Next Genius, who have worked so hard in the last 3 to 4 weeks to put together this online profile building fair. And I promise you, we will be back in a few weeks because of the wonderful response that we've received. So have a good evening, everybody, and see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Good luck to all the attendees. Good luck to all the kids out here. Lots of love and blessings. Thrive, survive, do everything, but with a perfect passion. That's our wish for all of you. Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you for calling us here. Thank you, Prasija and Ritu. It was wonderful working with you too.
Thank you, Neeraj. I think thank you, Vandana and Ms. Ritu again. Great to collaborate with you. I think there were a lot of takeaways that even I had as a counselor. So I'm sure the students have found it even more useful. It was very nice of you to kind of comprehensively put all these applications, profiles into smaller chunks. And I think the students could relate to it. And kudos to all the success and the hard work the Next Genius team is putting. And I can only see, you're going ahead and reaching out to as many students, more and more students. So good luck to all of you. Good luck to all the students listening to us, and happy application.
Super. Thank you so much.
My parting notes would be, I think we still have about 58 people who are still on this forum attending. To all those students, I have to tell them, please don't try to be superhuman. Be yourself. You're a teenager, be that. Do the very best you can. And that should be enough. And it'll get you to university. You will all go to universities. They might be different from what your first one might be, or you might even get that, but you'll all get to university. Don't get too tense, just do the best you can. And once again, thank you, Neeraj. Thank you, Devesh. Thank you, the Next Genius team.